Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. I am Ellie with Millennial Yarn, a business that sells hand-dyed yarn and yarn craft accessories. And today I'm going to show you how I did my first custom order. So the technique that I used was called resistance dyeing, which is really cool and also pretty reminiscent of like how you would do tie-dye shirts and things like that. So for the custom order, the customer had asked that I do a colorway that sort of looked like Nebula, which instead of using multiple colors and a speckling technique, I used the resistance dye colors and made it all black with some pops of purple, just like the customer had asked. So yeah, I was really happy with how it came out, and they were pretty happy with how it came out. It was really rewarding, but also really fun. So I want to show you the technique that I'm going to use uh, for that custom dye. But this one's pretty much going to be the same. The only difference is we are going to use a green instead of a purple because those are the colors of Plymouth State University, representing PSU, which is where I got my nursing degree, which is not what got me here. So without further ado, let's get this resistance dye technique on video and up for you to enjoy. So what I like to do first is just find the one of the ends that has a figure eight tie. And then I like to just put a zip tie around it because that spot has already got a tie, so the zip tie being there won't affect it. It usually doesn't affect it anyway, it's just there so that I can grab it easily out of the hot pot. Um, so next we're gonna take some yarn. I'm using acrylic yarn because the acrylic yarn doesn't really take citric acid dye, it washes right out. So it'll be real easy for me to see it once I've dyed it in black already. So I just chose a bunch of random spots, and I had previously used all zip ties for the custom order, but it felt really wasteful to use all that plastic. So that's why I'm doing the acrylic yarn. Whatever way works for you, no judgment here. I just prefer not to use as much plastic. So I just used the one for the zip tie to pick it up out of the pot. And for the rest of these, I'm just going to tie a bunch of knots around the skein of yarn in a bunch of random places. So, all right, here we go. And there you have it. Okay, so before you dye your yarn, you want to make sure you give it a nice pre-soak. And this is very common. Usually, yarn gets soaked before it gets dyed. I know in some cases, people will put it in the pot still dry for certain techniques. Maybe we can explore that. But anyway, this is Synthropol, and I put it in the bath to soak the yarn in because it gets rid of any excess like dirt or oil or anything like that that could still be on the wool from the manufacturer. So I like to get it nice and clean so that my yarn doesn't come out spotty. This is citric acid. It is very important. It is exactly the reason why the acid dye is able to bind to the animal protein fiber. So I take a tablespoon, and I use at least a tablespoon to soak all of my yarn in, just because I would rather make sure that lots and lots of citric acid gets into the yarn so that the acid dye can penetrate properly and at the depth of shade that I want. So there's also citric acid crystals. I just bought this one because it was at my local Walmart and I was too impatient to wait for Amazon to send it to me. So let me just go ahead and mix that up. And like I said, it is an option either to use the citric acid in your dye bath or in your pre-soak bath. Um, Really, all you need to soak it in is water if you don't have these ingredients yet. The next step to dyeing yarn is making the dye bath, which you will need water, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a hotel pan like this. It could be a pot, kettle, whatever. So start off with that water, and then we're gonna put it over medium heat for now, starting with the true black dye stock at 4%. You can see just how saturated it is at 4%, which is what we really want because the only places that we don't want the dye to penetrate is the places where we put the resistance, which is the yarn, the acrylic yarn that we tied around it. So I'm going to go ahead and put that dye in. And I started off with 1/8 of a cup, but as you'll see in a minute, I quickly found that that wasn't enough, or it looked like it wasn't enough at the time. So you go ahead and you put that dye in and you stir it up. And make sure you mix it up really well because if you don't, then sometimes it can settle on the bottom and that can cause the dye to penetrate more in, the bottom parts of the yarn rather than the top, and that's where you get variegation, which is not what I'm going for. So to test it, you can use a paper towel, fold it up like so, and just dunk it into the dye bath and see if it's close to what you want. This one was really tough to tell because, I don't know, I think it's just something to do with the black colored dyes, but it's very difficult to tell what color it's going to come out. So I just kept adding and testing and seeing what the best amount was for this project. Okay, so now you are ready to put your yarn in the dye bath over the medium heat. And for me, I usually like to start with setting an alarm for 20 minutes so I can come back and check and see if the dye has absorbed into the yarn enough to where I'm happy with it. So I'm going to start my timer and cook up the yarn, and when I come back I'll show you the resistance dye areas. Okay, so the first part of the resistance dyeing process is done. We are going to cut these ties and see hopefully some white underneath here so that we can hand paint these little sections of white with some color. Oh yeah, that's exactly what we're looking for. So now, as you can see, we have black, mostly black, with lots of nice white spots, soon to be green. Alright, I'm just going to rinse this out because it hasn't been rinsed yet, and as you can see my hands are already turning color. So, alright, when I come back we'll do the hand painting. Okay, so we are back and I have saran wrap here underneath my yarn. I also have a curtain just because I found that the curtain is so much easier to clean up than like just put in plastic wrap. And I am notorious for getting dye everywhere. So what we're gonna do is I have my emerald green dye stock, as you can see. And I'm just gonna take this and I'm gonna pour it into my Tupperware container here, because my paintbrush is too big to get into this little jar here. And then I already put citric acid in my dye stock just because I know that if I'm going to do some hand painting, then it's better to have the acid in it. That's going to make it bind to the protein, animal protein, faster. So yeah, all right, let's get this going. This is going to go over all of our white spots. And it's probably going to look pretty dark when we see it on here. But I think a lot of colors tend to like brighten up when the heat is applied. I remember, like, I know one of the colors that I use that I absolutely love is Flamingo Pink, Dharma's Flamingo Pink. And when you put it on, it looks like this really, like, dull red color. But then when you put it through the steaming process, it develops the pink so nicely. And it's like this beautiful bright pink. So that's what I tend to find with a lot of colors, some more than others. Like that one definitely threw me for a loop because it looked so dull when I applied it. Like, I'm used to it being dark like this when I apply it, but when it's dull like that, I'm just like, oh man, that acid dye is a dud. But I was wrong. They know what they're doing. So after I'm done with this side, we'll just flip it and make sure it's getting penetrated on the other side too. And I like to just steam it right in the wrap that I painted it on. I usually just soak up the excess around it before I make a little jelly roll out of it and steam it. And I prefer to steam in a pot. I know some people like to use the microwave, and I guess I can't say that I don't prefer the microwave. All I can say is that I've never tried it. So maybe I'll give that a go one of these times here when I'm dyeing. I doubt that I'm sure the methods are very comparable to each other, because, is it comparable I'm looking for? I don't know. If I have the wrong word, you can comment the right word. But anyway, they both are going to apply heat. So in any case, I'm pretty sure that it would come out looking, the same colors if it's the same fiber and the same dye technique and all that. I don't think your method of applying heat, unless maybe you're solar dyeing, which is also something I haven't tried yet, but I'm very excited to. Alright, almost done here. And I'm just double checking all these to make sure that they got penetrated enough and that it's going to dye all the way through. This is looking good. Just want to make sure that I get any spots that I missed. And there will be some spots that are lighter than others, and I am actually hopeful for that, because I think that the variation definitely gives it even more interest than just like a solid green on a black. But see, yeah, look at that. There's like no penetration on the other side. So I'm just going to turn it over. I'm going to need a little bit more dye in here. Alright, let's flip this sucker. Alright. The side that I worked on doesn't look too bad as far as how much color it absorbed. But the side that I didn't really work as hard on is still white on the other side. So let me just fill these in. Okay, and like I said, since it's a black base and I'm just painting green over it, doesn't really feel necessary to like super duper be careful and make sure that, you know, this color doesn't get on here, because it's not going to affect anything around the black color. So let me grab a paper towel that I'm just going to wipe. Yeah, see, it comes off nice and easy, so it's really not that big of a deal anyway. Even if it was a different color, I usually just wipe around it, and then I don't have any issues with the spreading of the dye. Okay, so now we are just going to roll up the skein of yarn. I did it in threes because I wasn't really worried about this one smudging or anything like that. So I just folded it over and rolled it up. All right, she's ready to steam. Look at that. Okay, so we're gonna steam it in my little steamer basket. And I'm getting the water to put in the bottom of the pot, but you really don't need that much. You just need enough to create steam. So, let's get some water in here. And honestly, that should be plenty. I probably just use like 2 quarts, maybe less, I don't know. And let's throw this bad boy on high. Put the steamer basket in. Wow, that's the easiest it's ever gone in. Now I've got my jelly roll here, and I'm just gonna pop it in. And that's the zip tie that's on it, just to mark where, you know, I can grab it from without getting it tangled. And you can kind of see like the pops of green in there already. So I'm pretty excited to see how it turns out. I think it's gonna be pretty cool. All right, well, and it's probably gonna bleed into the water, which is not a big deal, but like, since this isn't fully covered, the dye potentially will bleed out and go into the water underneath. But like I said, that doesn't matter. That's just something that happens. And excuse all my cat hair, good God. All right, and we'll be back in a little while to turn off the heat and let it cool. All right. Ah, it's freaking hot, man. All right, timer went off. Oh, she's looking steamy. Gonna put her to the side to cool. Oh yeah. Oh my goodness. The green looks so pretty. I shouldn't be unwrapping it yet, but I am. Look at that. It's pretty. So this is not entirely cool yet, but I'm impatient and I really want to see what it looks like. It's very hot. I should not be touching it, but I am. So let's see what it looks like just fresh out of the... Oh yeah, she's steaming. It's very hot. Oh, you know what? Let me turn on this light so you can see it better. Here we go. Okay. Here it is. It's a little... Oh yeah, that's much better. Easier to see. So that's what we've got so far. Oh yeah, it's gonna be beautiful. But I'm gonna let this cool a little bit more before I rinse it out. And then I'm going to spin it, hang it, dry it, and show you the final results. And I'm think I'm gonna knit something up out of it so that you can see what it looks like in a finished garment. So here is the finished product. I'm very pleased with how it came out. It looks just like the custom dye that I did with the black with purple pops called Violet Nebula. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this resistance dyeing video. I know it's a little complicated potentially for those who are just beginning, but I am hoping to put out lots more content on yarn dyeing because there is so many different techniques. So if you liked this video and you want to see more, feel free to thumbs it up, subscribe, comment. You can find my hand-dyed yarns at www.millennialyarn.com. And you can also find us on Instagram and Facebook at Millennial Yarn to keep up with all of the happenings, the deals, the giveaways. If you subscribe to www.millennialyarn.com, you will get discounts sent to your email every month, different ones, so that's pretty exciting. And if you are interested in winning one skein of custom dyed yarn, I want you to go ahead and comment below in the YouTube comment section and just comment with your favorite color. That's all I want to know. Put your favorite color in the comments and you will be entered automatically to win a free custom dyed skein of yarn. Thanks so much for watching the video, and I hope we see you again soon.